October 22, 1943, 0447 hours. Casso Strait, Aegean Sea. A 31-year-old Greek destroyer is charging 4 German E-boats at 28 knots. Her boilers are screaming. Her captain has been awake for 36 hours. His executive officer thinks he has gone completely mad. The Germans are laughing over their radios. 1 obsolete ship against 4 modern attack craft. This will take 5 minutes. They are wrong. In exactly 47 minutes, this rusting antique will cripple their lead boat and scatter the rest. In 25 hours, she will lose 50 feet of her bow to an Italian torpedo and refuse to sink. In 2 weeks, she will be firing her guns at German invasion forces with no bow at all. But first, let me tell you about the man standing on that bridge. Commander Ioannis Tumbas grew up in Piraeus Harbor. His father repaired fishing boats for a living. His mother sold fish at the morning market before dawn. Every night, young Ioannis fell asleep to the sound of waves slapping against wooden hulls. At 16, he lied about his age to enter the Naval Academy. The instructors laughed at him. Too short, too poor, wrong family background. Tumbas ignored them. He graduated first in his class 3 years later. By 1941, he had served aboard 6 different vessels. He knew the Aegean Sea the way other men knew their wives. Every current, every hidden reef, every trick the wind played between the islands. Sailors said he could navigate blindfolded. April 27, 1941. Alexandria, Egypt. Tumbas stood on the deck of his ship Adrias and listened to the radio. Athens had fallen. German tanks rolled through streets where he had walked as a young officer. The swastika now flew over the Acropolis. His mother was still in Piraeus. His sister, too. He had no way to reach them, no way to know if they were alive. A British liaison officer approached him that evening. The man wore a crisp uniform and carried a clipboard. Commander Tumbas, the Royal Navy is offering your crew positions aboard modern vessels. Your ship is simply too old to fight effectively. Tumbas turned slowly. His eyes were bloodshot. He had not slept in 40 hours. What did you just say about my ship? The officer shifted his weight. I meant no disrespect, Commander. But Adrias was commissioned in 1912. Her boilers are failing. Her fire control system belongs in a museum. Against E-boats and Luftwaffe bombers, she would be a death trap. Tumbas stepped closer. His voice went quiet. My mother is in Piraeus. My sister is hiding somewhere in Athens. Every man on this ship has family under Nazi occupation. We did not sail to Alexandria to transfer to comfortable British vessels. We came here to fight. Commander, with respect, your ship cannot survive modern combat. The math simply does not work. Tumbas smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Then we will die on a Greek ship, under a Greek flag, killing Germans. Is that clear enough for your clipboard? The officer left without another word. That night, Tumbas called his crew together on the foredeck. 110 men, engineers, gunners, cooks, boys who had never fired a weapon, and veterans who had fought in 2 wars. The British think we should give up our ship. They say she is too old, too slow, too weak. He paused. Let the silence stretch. They are offering us safe positions on modern destroyers, good food, better pay, a chance to survive this war. No one moved. I am not ordering anyone to stay. If you want to transfer, I will sign the papers myself. No shame, no judgment. You have already done your duty. A voice came from the back. Petty Officer Stavros Nikolaidis, the chief engineer. 52 years old. He had served on Adrias since 1936. Captain, where do I sign up for the British ships? Tumbas looked at him. You want to transfer, Stavros? The old engineer spat over the railing. I want to know which of these cowards is leaving so I can take their bunk. More room for me. Laughter rippled through the crew. Not one man requested transfer. Not one. Lieutenant Anastasios Lapis was the executive officer. 28 years old, Engineering degree from Athens Polytechnic. He had joined the Navy because his family could not afford to feed him during the Depression. Lapis understood machines the way Tumbas understood the sea. He could diagnose engine problems by sound alone. He had kept Adrius running for 3 years with spare parts stolen from Italian wrecks and begged from British supply officers. 3 days before the convoy mission, Lapis found Tumbas alone in his cabin. The captain was staring at a photograph. "Sir, we need to discuss the port boiler." Tumbas did not look up. "What about it?" "It is failing. I can keep it running, but if we push past 26 knots for more than 20 minutes, something will break. Possibly catastrophically." Tumbas finally raised his eyes. "Can you give me 28 knots when I need it?" Lapis hesitated. "Yes, but I cannot promise for how long. I do not need long, I need fast." "Can you do it?" A long pause. "Yes, Captain. I can do it." Tumbas nodded and looked back at the photograph. Lapis glimpsed it before leaving. A woman and a young girl standing in front of a white house. Piraeus Harbor in the background. He never asked about the photograph. Some things did not need words. October 22nd, 1943. 0400 hours. Adrius leads the convoy into the Caso Strait. 4 merchant ships loaded with ammunition for British forces on Leros. 1 British corvette, HMS Hursley, as escort. The moon is bright. Too bright. Tumbas stands on the bridge scanning the horizon. We might as well be carrying signal flares. Lapis stands beside him. German reconnaissance spotted us 30 minutes ago. Hursley intercepted their transmission. "I know. They will send E-boats. Captain, we cannot outrun E-boats. They make 43 knots. We can barely manage 28. "I know what E-boats can do, Lieutenant. Then what is your plan?" Tumbas lowered his binoculars. "Tell me something. What do German E-boat commanders expect when they attack a convoy?" Lapis frowned. "They expect the escorts to screen the merchants. Standard defensive positioning. The convoy scatters while escorts provide covering fire." "Exactly. They expect us to defend, to react, to be afraid. Because we should be afraid. They are faster, better armed, and there are more of them." Tumbas turned to face his executive officer. "Have you ever hunted wild boar, Lieutenant?" "What wild boar?" "In the mountains. Have you hunted them?" "No, sir." "I have. My uncle took me when I was 14. He told me something I never forgot. A boar is not dangerous when it runs away. A boar is dangerous when it charges. Because a charging boar does not care if it dies. It only cares about killing you first." Lapis stared at him. "You want us to charge the E-boats?" "Yes. Sir, that is insane. Yes. That is why it will work." 0447 hours. The radar operator's voice cuts through the bridge. "Contact bearing 045. Range 12,000 yards. Multiple fast movers. 4 contacts. 4 E-boats. Top speed 43 knots. 2 torpedo tubes each. 20mm cannons. Built specifically to kill ships like Adrius." Tumbas did not hesitate. "All ahead full. Helm steer 045. We are engaging." Dead silence on the bridge. Lapis grabbed his captain's arm. "Sir, escort doctrine requires us to position between the threat and the convoy. We should be screening the merchants, not attacking. Escort doctrine assumes we can outrun the threat. We cannot. If we try to screen, they will simply go around us and slaughter the convoy. Our only chance is to make them afraid of us. By attacking 4 E-boats with 1 obsolete destroyer, by showing them we are the boar that charges." Tumbas pulled his arm free. "Signal Hursley to take the convoy south at maximum speed. Tell them we will handle the E-boats. Handle them how?" "By being too crazy to kill." He turned to the voice tube. "Engine room. I need everything you have. 28 knots. Now." Stavros's voice came back strained. "Captain, the port boiler is already running hot. If I push her to 28, she might blow. She might. Or she might hold. But if those E-boats reach the convoy, 400 men die for certain." Give me 28 knots. Stavros. A pause. Then I, Captain. 28 knots. God help us all. The deck began to vibrate. Black smoke poured from the funnels. Adrias surged forward. 25 knots. 26. 27. Lapis watched the speed indicator climb. Port boiler temperature rising. Captain, I see it. 28 knots. The old destroyer shook like a fever patient. Rivets groaned, pipes rattled, range 10,000 yards. The German E-boat commanders saw Adrias through their binoculars. They saw an ancient destroyer charging directly at them, black smoke streaming from her stacks. One of them keyed his radio. The Greeks have lost their minds. 1 ship against 4. This will be easy. He was wrong. Range 8,000 yards. Tumbas stood motionless on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. His face revealed nothing. But Lapis had served with him for 18 months. He saw the tension in the captain's jaw, the slight tremor in his fingers. He is terrified, Lapis realized. He is terrified, and he is doing this anyway. Forward guns load high explosive. Prepare to fire on my command. Aye, Captain. Forward guns ready. Range 7,000 yards. The lead E-boat turned hard. Her torpedo tubes swung toward Adrias. They are launching. 2 white streaks appeared in the water, phosphorescent lines racing toward them at 40 knots. On the port lookout, a young sailor named Dimitri Konstantinos watched the torpedoes come. He was 19 years old. 8 months in the Navy. He had never seen combat. His body refused to move. His mind went blank. This is it, he thought. This is how I die. Tumbas's voice shattered the paralysis. Hard to port. All engines full. Now! The helmsman threw the wheel over. Adrias heeled violently. The deck tilted 30 degrees. Men grabbed for anything solid. Dimitri slammed against the railing. Pain exploded through his shoulder. But he held on. First torpedo passed 200 yards to starboard. Second torpedo passed 150 yards beyond. Tumbas had not moved from his position. Bring us back on course. Forward batteries acquire target. Range 500 yards. His voice was calm, almost bored. Lapis's hands shook as he calculated firing solutions. Speed, distance, deflection, wind. Numbers he had drilled 1,000 times. Solution ready, Captain. Fire. The forward 4-inch guns roared. First salvo fell short. Geysers erupted 200 yards ahead of the lead E-boat. Up 400. Fire again. Second salvo. Closer. The Germans stopped laughing. Third salvo. A shell struck the lead E-boat's stern. Not a direct hit, a glancing blow, but 31 pounds of high explosive tore through thin aluminum hull like wet paper. The German craft slewed sideways. Smoke and flame erupted from her engine compartment. Dead in the water. The other 3 E-boats scattered. They came hunting fat merchants, not madmen. On the bridge, Lapis exhaled. We hit them. We actually hit them. Tumbas allowed himself a small smile. The Greeks invented naval warfare, Lieutenant. The Germans should have studied more history. But the celebration lasted exactly 3 minutes. 05:12 hours. Aircraft bearing 280. 3 contacts. Diving fast. Junkers. Ju-88 bombers. 300 miles per hour. Coming straight at them. Tumbas's smile vanished. All hands air attack. Anti-aircraft stations. The ancient 40mm Bofors guns swung skyward. Good crews. Old weapons. Bad odds. Lead aircraft beginning bomb run. Range 4,000 feet. Lapis looked at his captain. Evasive maneuvers, Gnome. At this range, turning exposes our full length to the bomb pattern. We hold course. We present the smallest target. Sir, they are dropping now. I know. All hands brace for impact. 3 250-kilogram bombs fell from the lead Ju-88. Dimitri watched them come. Black shapes tumbling against gray sky. He thought of his mother. He thought of the girl in Thessaloniki who had kissed him before he shipped out. He thought of everything he would never do. Then something changed in him. No, not today. Not like this. He gripped the railing and set his jaw. First bomb. 80 yards to port. The explosion lifted a water column higher than the mast. The shockwave slammed into the hull like a giant's fist. Second bomb. 40 yards to starboard. Glass shattered across the bridge. Tumbas was thrown against the chart table. Blood ran from his forehead. Third bomb. 15 yards off the bow. Apocalyptic. The forward deck vanished under white water. The bow plunged beneath the surface for 3 endless seconds. When it rose, the forward gun mount was twisted wreckage. The barrel pointed at the sky at an impossible angle, but Adrias was still floating. The Ju-88s circled for another pass. Then the sun broke the horizon. In the growing light, the pilots saw the truth. The convoy had escaped. While Adrias drew every enemy in the strait, the 4 merchants and Hersley had put 10 miles between themselves and the battle. The Germans broke off. One crippled destroyer was not worth losing bombers. 0545 hours. Smoke filled the bridge. Blood on the deck. Tumbas pulled himself upright. His left arm hung wrong. Damage report. Lapis's voice was raw. Forward gun destroyed. Hull cracked in 6 places. Port boiler offline. Maximum speed, 22 knots. 12 wounded. 3 dead. 3 dead. Tumbas closed his eyes. 3 men who trusted him. 3 families who would receive telegrams. He forced the thought away. Grieve later. The convoy safe, sir. All 4 merchants undamaged. Then we did our job. Captain, we should return to Alexandria. We cannot continue like this. Tumbas opened his eyes. We have 3 guns. We have torpedoes. The convoy still needs escort. Sir, this is madness. Tumbas put his hand on Lapis's shoulder. The first time he had ever touched him. My mother is in Piraeus, Lieutenant. Your family is in Thessaloniki. Every man on this ship has someone under Nazi occupation. We cannot go home, but we can make the bastards pay for every mile of Greek water they cross. He paused. Are you with me? Lapis looked at his captain. Bloody, broken arm, eyes burning with something beyond exhaustion. Yes, sir. I am with you. Adrias limped forward. 22 knots. Damaged bow. Destroyed gun. 3 dead. But her flag still flew. What came next was worse. Much worse. In exactly 27 hours, an Italian torpedo would tear away 50 feet of her bow. Tumbas would face a choice no captain should ever make. And the crew of this broken, obsolete, worthless ship would do something that German intelligence would refuse to believe for months. But that story belongs to part 2. October 23rd, 1943. 0230 hours. 40 nautical miles from Leros. Adrias limps through the Aegean at 22 knots. Her forward gun is twisted wreckage. Her port boiler is dead. 3 of her crew lie wrapped in canvas below decks waiting for burial at sea. But she is still afloat. Still escorting. Still refusing to quit. Commander Tumbas stands on the bridge with his arm in a makeshift sling. He has not slept in 52 hours. His executive officer Lapis keeps glancing at him, worried the captain will collapse. Tumbas notices. Stop looking at me like I am dying, Lieutenant. Sir, you need rest. The convoy is safe. We are only hours from Leros. I will rest when we reach harbor. Lapis opens his mouth to argue. Then the world explodes. No warning. No radar contact. No sound except the catastrophic detonation that rips through the forward hull. An Italian torpedo. Launched from the submarine Ammiraglio Cagni. She had been lying silent at periscope depth for 6 hours, waiting for exactly this moment. The blast is beyond description. 50 feet of bow simply vanishes. Steel that took 2 years to build disappears in a fraction of a second. The destroyer lurches forward. Momentum drives her down by the head. Water floods through a wound the size of a house. Tumbas is thrown across the bridge. His injured arm hits the bulkhead. Pain whites out his vision. When he can see again, the deck is tilted 15 degrees. Water is pouring through shattered windows. Emergency lighting flickers on. Red shadows dance across faces frozen in shock. Dmitri, the young sailor who survived the air attack, finds himself underwater. He does not know how. One moment he was at his station. The next moment the sea was trying to kill him. His lungs burn. His eyes sting from salt. He cannot tell which way is up. Then a hand grabs his collar and pulls. Petty Officer Stavros hauls him out of the flooding compartment. The old engineer is bleeding from a gash on his scalp. He does not seem to notice. "Move, boy. Move." Dmitri coughs seawater. His whole body shakes. The ship is sinking. "Not if I have anything to say about it." "Get to the pumps. Now." On the bridge, Tumbas pulls himself upright using the chart table. Blood runs from his nose. His injured arm screams with every movement. "Damage report." Lapas's voice comes from somewhere in the smoke. "Sir, the bow is gone. Everything forward of frame 47. We are taking water faster than the pumps can handle." Casualties. Unknown. The forward compartments flooded instantly. Anyone in them is dead. Tumbas closes his eyes. How many men sleep in the forward berthing? 1820. He forces himself to focus. Counterflooding. Flood the aft compartments to balance the trim. Sir, that will make us heavier. We will sink faster. We are already sinking by the bow. If we do not balance, we will go down nose first in minutes. Flood the aft sections. Do it now. Lapas stares at his captain. The order makes no sense. Deliberately flooding your own ship to stop it from sinking. It is madness. But he has learned to trust this madman. "Aye, Captain. Counter-flooding aft compartments." The damage control parties know their jobs. They have drilled for this exact scenario 100 times. They open valves in the stern sections. Seawater rushes in. The ship groans like a wounded animal. For 30 seconds, nothing happens. Then slowly, impossibly, the bow begins to rise. The stern sinks lower. The deck levels out. Adrias wallows in the water like a drunk man trying to stand, but she is not diving anymore. She is floating. Lapas cannot believe his eyes. It worked. How the hell did that work? Tumbas sags against the chart table. Basic physics. Lieutenant, trim the boat or lose the boat. He looks out through the shattered bridge windows at what remains of his ship. 50 feet of bow gone. Jagged steel teeth where the hull was torn apart. The forward deck ends in nothing but twisted metal and open sea. Maximum speed. Lapas checks with the engine room. Maybe 8 knots, sir, in calm water. If the bulkheads hold, 8 knots. A man could swim faster in short bursts. Casualties. The final number comes 20 minutes later. 18 dead, sir. 23 wounded. 18 dead. Added to the 3 from the air attack. 21 men. 21 families who will receive telegrams. Tumbas's hands are shaking. He grips the chart table to hide it. And our guns. 3 4-inch guns still operational. Torpedo tubes intact. Lapas watches his captain carefully. He has seen men break after less than this. Tumbas has not slept in 2 days. His arm is broken. His ship is destroyed. 21 of his men are dead. "Captain, we should signal for rescue. We cannot fight. We can barely float." Tumbas looks at him. "Where is the convoy, sir?" "The convoy. Where is it?" Lapas checks the chart. HMS Hursley has them. They are continuing to Leros. They should arrive by nightfall. And the Italian submarine unknown. Probably retreating after the attack. So the convoy is safe. "Yes, sir. The convoy is safe. Then we did our job." "Captain, with respect, our job is finished. We have no bow. We cannot maneuver. If another submarine finds us, we are dead." Tumbas straightens. His eyes are bloodshot. His face is gray with exhaustion. But his voice is steady. "Lieutenant, How far are we from Leros? 40 nautical miles, sir. At 8 knots, 5 hours. Maybe 6 if the current is against us. Then we sail to Leros. Lapis's jaw drops. Sir, we have no bow. I noticed, Lieutenant. I was standing on the bridge when it disappeared. We cannot sail 40 miles like this. The bulkheads could collapse. One wave in the wrong place and we flood instantly. Then we will avoid waves. Captain, this is insane. Tumbas turns to face his executive officer fully. For a long moment, neither man speaks. Then Tumbas says something that Lapis will remember for the rest of his life. Lieutenant, I have 21 dead men on this ship, 21 men who trusted me to bring them home. I cannot bring them home to Greece, but I can bring them to Leros. I can bury them on Greek soil, Allied soil. I will not let them sink to the bottom of the sea because I was too afraid to try. He pauses. Now you can relieve me of command if you think I am unfit. That is your right as executive officer. Or you can help me sail this wreck to harbor. Choose now. The bridge is silent. Lapis thinks of his father in Thessaloniki. He thinks of the men who are still alive who are counting on their officers to save them. He thinks of what it would mean to give up now after everything they have survived. He straightens. Engine room, maintain 8 knots. Helm steer for Leros. We are going home. Tumbas nods. Good man. The next 5 hours are the longest of Lapis's life. Adrias crawls toward Leros at 8 knots. Every wave threatens to flood the open bow. Every gust of wind pushes her off course. The steering barely responds. The engines cough and sputter. Stavros lives in the engine room nursing the remaining boiler like a sick child. He refuses to let anyone else touch the controls. She is my engine. She will hold because I tell her to hold. On deck, the surviving crew forms bucket brigades. They bail water by hand when the pumps cannot keep up. Men who have been awake for 30 hours pass buckets until their arms give out, then keep passing them anyway. Dmitri works until he collapses. When he wakes, he finds a blanket over him and a cup of cold coffee beside him. He does not know who left them. He drinks the coffee and goes back to bailing. At 07:30 hours, Luftwaffe reconnaissance spots them. A German pilot circles the crippled destroyer twice. He radios back to base. Greek destroyer in distress. Bow destroyed. Speed minimal. Recommend leaving for the sea. His commander agrees. Why waste ammunition on a ship that is already sinking? The pilot flies away. Tumbas watches him go. They think we are dead. Let them think it. At 1400 hours, Adrias enters Leros harbor. She is listing 7 degrees to port. Her bow is a jagged wound of twisted steel. She is taking water faster than her pumps can handle. She should not exist. The British garrison commander watches from the dock. He has seen a lot of damaged ships in this war. He has never seen anything like this. He sends a message to the bridge. How the bloody hell are you still floating? Tumbas's reply takes 3 minutes. He has to stop twice to cough blood. We are Greek. We do not sink easily. The harbor master guides Adrias to a mooring. The crew ties her off with hands that shake from exhaustion. When the lines are secure, several men simply sit down on the deck and weep. They have made it. Against every odd, against every logical calculation, they have made it. Tumbas allows himself to close his eyes for 30 seconds. When he opens them, the British commander is standing on the dock, looking up at him. Commander, that was the most extraordinary piece of seamanship I have witnessed in 20 years. Your ship is destroyed. By all rights, you should be dead. Tumbas looks down at the British officer. My ship still has 3 guns and 4 torpedoes. What do you need us to do? The commander stares at him. I beg your pardon, you have a garrison here. The Germans will try to take this island. You need every gun you can get. We cannot sail, but we can still shoot. Commander, your crew has been through hell. They need rest, medical attention. They need to fight. It is the only thing keeping them alive. The British commander is silent for a long moment. Then he nods. Very well. We will moor you in a position covering the eastern approach. If the Germans come, you will be our floating battery. Tumbas nods. We will be ready. For the next 2 weeks, Adria serves as a stationary gun platform. Her crew rigs the 3 remaining 4-inch guns for shore bombardment. They cannot move. They cannot run. They can only fight. And fight they do. November 4th, 1943. German landing craft approach the eastern shore. Adrius opens fire at 6,000 yards. Direct hit on the lead craft. 30 German soldiers die in seconds. The remaining craft scatter. November 8th. Luftwaffe bombers target the harbor. Adrius's anti-aircraft crews shoot down 1 Ju-88 and damage 2 others. The bombers drop their loads in the water and flee. November 11th. Another landing attempt. Adrius fires 147 shells in 4 hours. German intelligence reports describe unusually accurate Greek destroyer fire from Leros harbor. They do not know the ship they are facing has no bow. They do not know her captain has not slept more than 3 hours at a time in 2 weeks. They do not know her crew has patched her hull with wooden planks and canvas and prayers. On November 12th, German headquarters issues a standing order. The Greek destroyer in Leros harbor is to be destroyed at all costs. Allocate additional air assets. That same day, Tumbas receives a message from the garrison commander. German assault expected within 72 hours. Overwhelming force. We cannot hold. Tumbas reads the message twice. He calls his officers together in what remains of the wardroom. The British are going to evacuate. They have transports coming tomorrow night. They have offered us places. The officers look at each other. Lapis speaks first. What about Adrius? She cannot be moved, and we cannot let her fall into German hands. Silence. Everyone knows what that means. Tumbas continues. I am not ordering anyone to stay. The British will take our wounded. Anyone who wants to go should go with them. No shame. No one speaks. Stavros, the old engineer, clears his throat. Captain, I have been on this ship for 7 years. I am not leaving her now. Dmitri, the young sailor, who almost drowned twice, steps forward. I stay too. One by one, every officer and enlisted man volunteers to remain. Tumbas nods. His throat is tight. Then we will give her a proper end. November 16th, 1943. 0300 hours. German forces overrun Leros. The British garrison surrenders after 4 days of fighting. But 1 hour before the surrender, Adrius fires her last shells at advancing German troops. 47 rounds. Her guns glow red in the darkness. Then her crew opens the seacocks. Tumbas stands on the bridge as water floods through the ship he has commanded for 3 years. The ship that has survived E-boat's bombers and a torpedo that took 50 feet of her bow. The ship that refused to die. Lapis stands beside him. We should go, sir. In a moment. Tumbas watches the water rise. He thinks of the 21 men who died. He thinks of their families. He thinks of his mother in Piraeus, who does not know if he is alive or dead. He salutes the bridge. Thank you, old girl. You earned your rest. Then he climbs down to the deck, where the last boats are waiting. Adrius sinks stern first. Her Greek flag is still flying. Her guns are still pointed at the enemy. She goes down fighting. The surviving crew is captured within hours. They spend the rest of the war in German prison camps. But they survive. Every single one of them survives. After the war, Commander Tumbas returns to Greece. He finds his mother alive in Piraeus. His sister has survived the occupation. He continues serving in the Hellenic Navy until 1955. He never speaks publicly about Adrius. When asked, he says only this: We did what any Greek sailor would do. We fought for our home. Lieutenant Lapis becomes a merchant captain. He names his first ship Adrius. He keeps a photograph of her crew in his cabin until his death in 1989. Dimitri Konstantinos, the young sailor who almost died 3 times in 3 days, becomes a schoolteacher after the war. He tells his students about Adrius every year on October 22nd. One of his students asks him once, "Were you afraid?" Dimitri thinks for a long moment. Every minute. But we were more afraid of giving up than dying. Does that make sense? The student nods. Petty Officer Stavros Nicolaitis, the old engineer who kept Adrius running with spare parts and stubbornness, dies in a German prison camp in March 1944. His last words, according to fellow prisoners, are, "She was a good ship." The wreck of Adrius still lies in Leros harbor. Greek Navy divers have placed a memorial plaque at the site. It reads, "Here lies Hellenic Navy ship Adrius. She refused to surrender." In modern Greece, naval cadets study Adrius not for her firepower, not for her speed. They study her for what she represents. The idea that determination matters more than technology, that old steel crewed by brave men can change the course of battles. That worthless is a judgment made by people who have never faced an enemy who refuses to quit. German naval records from late 1943 contain a standing order that was never rescinded. Greek destroyers are not to be engaged without overwhelming force. Their commanders demonstrate reckless aggression inconsistent with vessel capabilities. Translation: They fight like madmen, and they refuse to die. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm that this piece of history is worth remembering. We are dedicated to rescuing these forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or country. Tell us if someone in your family served. Thank you for ensuring that Commander Ioannis Tumbas, Lieutenant Anastasios Lapas, Petty Officer Stavros Nicolaitis, and young Dimitri Konstantinos do not disappear into silence. They and their battered bowless defiant ship deserve to be remembered. Part 1. A 31-year-old Greek destroyer charged 4 German E-boats in the Caso Strait. Her captain was called insane. He crippled one boat and scattered the rest. Part 2. An Italian torpedo tore away 50 feet of her bow. Commander Tumbas refused to abandon ship. He sailed 40 miles with no bow. He turned his crippled destroyer into a floating gun battery at Leros. For 2 weeks, Adrius held the line against German assault forces. But here is what German intelligence discovered in those 2 weeks. This was not one mad captain. This was not one obsolete ship. This was a pattern. 6 Greek destroyers were operating in the Aegean. All of them ancient. All of them should have been scrapped years ago. And all of them were fighting with the same terrifying aggression. Between September and November 1943, Greek destroyers engaged German forces 34 times. They should have lost every engagement. They won 29 of them. German convoy losses in the Aegean increased 340%. And Berlin wanted to know why. November 3, 1943. German Naval Command Headquarters, Athens. Kapitän zur See. Werner Lange stares at the reports on his desk. He has been staring at them for an hour. The numbers make no sense. His aide stands at attention. Sir, the latest loss figures from the Aegean convoy routes. Lang picks up the report. 3 supply ships sunk last week. 2 damaged. 1 E-boat destroyed. Another in dry dock for 6 weeks. All from engagements with Greek destroyers. He throws the report on his desk. Greek destroyers. Ships we wrote off as target practice. His aide shifts uncomfortably. Sir, our intelligence suggests the Greeks are operating beyond normal parameters. They engage at ranges where they should retreat. They press attacks when they should defend. They accept damage that should force withdrawal. Lang stands. He walks to the window overlooking Piraeus harbor. I know what they are doing, Lieutenant. They are fighting like men who have nothing to lose. The question is how we stop them. The answer comes from Berlin 3 days later. New standing orders for all Kriegsmarine vessels in the Aegean Greek destroyers are not to be engaged without overwhelming force. Minimum ratio 3:1. Air support required for all convoy operations within 100 nautical miles of known Greek patrol areas. Lang reads the order twice. They want us to run from museum pieces. His aide clears his throat. Sir, The order also allocates 2 additional Luftwaffe squadrons to the Aegean theater, and 4 more E-boats from the Adriatic. Lang nods slowly. So Berlin is taking them seriously now. The numbers speak for themselves, sir. The numbers do speak. Between August and November 1943, German forces in the Aegean committed over 400 additional personnel to counter the Greek destroyer threat. They diverted 47 aircraft from other theaters. They reassigned 12 E-boats that were desperately needed in the English Channel, all to fight 6 obsolete ships that should have been scrapped. But the Greeks have problems of their own. November 9, 1943. Alexandria, Egypt. Royal Navy Headquarters. Commander Konstantinos Alexandros sits in an office that is not his own. Across from him sits Rear Admiral Harold Burrow, commander of Eastern Mediterranean Forces. The atmosphere is cold. Commander, I have read the reports from Leros. Tumbas and Adrias performed remarkably, but that is not why you are here. Alexandros says nothing. He knows what is coming. You have lost 2 destroyers in 6 weeks. Vasilissa Olga sunk at Leros. Queen Olga gone with most of her crew. Adrias destroyed. Your remaining vessels are damaged and undermanned. Sir, our losses are consistent with the intensity of operations. Burrow leans forward. Your operations were not authorized at this intensity. The Greek squadron was assigned convoy escort duty. Defensive operations. You have been conducting offensive patrols without approval. We saw opportunities to damage enemy supply lines. You saw opportunities to get your men killed. With respect, sir, we have inflicted significant damage on German forces and lost significant assets doing so. Assets we cannot replace. Alexandros stands. He should not. Protocol demands he remain seated, but he cannot contain himself. Admiral. My country is occupied. My family is under Nazi rule. Every ship I send into the Aegean is crewed by men who have not seen their homes in 3 years. They are fighting because it is the only thing they can do. If you want us to sit in Alexandria and watch the war happen, you will have to relieve me of command. Silence. Burrow's face is unreadable. Then slowly he nods. Sit down, Commander. Alexandros sits. I am not going to relieve you. I am not going to order you to stop offensive operations. What I am going to do is give you a choice. Sir. The Dodecanese campaign is failing. Leros has fallen. Kos has fallen. We do not have the resources to hold the islands. But we can make the Germans pay for every mile of water they cross. Alexandros waits. I am authorizing extended offensive operations for your remaining destroyers. Hunt German convoys. Disrupt supply lines. Make them bleed. But understand this. I cannot give you reinforcements. I cannot give you replacements. What you have is what you have. Alexandros nods. Understood, sir. There is one more thing. Burrow opens a folder on his desk. British intelligence has identified a German convoy scheduled for November 18th. 6 transport ships carrying reinforcements and supplies from Piraeus to Crete. The convoy will pass through the Kythera Strait. That is heavily defended waters, sir. Yes. Which is why I am giving you the choice. You can let it pass. Or you can intercept. What are our odds? Burrow closes the folder. Poor. Alexandros smiles. It is not a pleasant smile. Greek odds. We will take them. November 18th, 1943. 0215 hours. Kythera Strait. 3 Greek destroyers move through darkness. Pindos. Kountoriotis. Spetsai. Average age 27 years. Average speed 26 knots. Combined crew 330 men. They are hunting 6 German transport ships, protected by 4 E-boats and 2 Italian torpedo boats. Luftwaffe bombers are on standby at Maleme Airfield in Crete, 30 minutes away. Commander Georgios Theodoridis leads the squadron aboard Pindos. He is 38 years old. He served as executive officer under Tumbas 5 years ago. He learned everything he knows about aggressive tactics from the man who charged 4 E-boats alone. Signal from Spetsai, sir. Radar contact bearing 185. Multiple ships. Range 15,000 yards. How many? At least 8 contacts. 6 large moving slow. 2 small moving fast. More contacts beyond. That is our convoy. Theodoridis looks at his bridge crew. Young faces. Tired eyes. Men who have been at war too long. Gentlemen, you know the plan. We hit them fast. We hit them hard. We do not stop until they are burning, or we are sinking. He pauses. Anyone have a problem with that silence? Good. Signal the squadron. Attack formation. All ahead full. The 3 destroyers surge forward. 0237 hours. Range 8,000 yards. The German E-boats see the Greek destroyers on radar. They cannot believe what they are seeing. 3 contacts approaching at high speed. They are not defending. They are attacking. The E-boat commander radios his convoy. Greek destroyers approaching. All transports scatter. We will engage. The transports begin to turn. Fat cargo ships loaded with ammunition and troops. They cannot run fast. They cannot fight back. Range 6,000 yards. Pindos opens fire. The first salvo falls short. Up 200. Fire again. Second salvo closer. Third salvo. A 4-inch shell hits the lead transport amidships. The explosion is visible for miles. Fire spreads across her deck. Behind Pindos, Convoys engages the second transport. Spetsai targets the E-boat screen. The night becomes chaos. Shells scream through darkness. Tracers arc across the water. Ships burn. Men die. 44 hours. The lead E-boat launches torpedoes at Pindos. 2 white streaks in the water. Theodoridis sees them. Hard to starboard. Now. The helmsman throws the wheel over. Pindos heels violently. The first torpedo passes 100 yards to port. The second passes 50 yards, close enough to rock the ship with displaced water. Resume course, continue firing. The forward guns roar again. Another hit on the lead transport. She is slowing, listing, sinking. 0251 hours. The second transport takes 3 hits from Convoys. Her cargo of ammunition detonates. The explosion is massive. A column of fire rises 500 feet into the air. The shockwave hits Spetsai 2,000 yards away. Men are knocked off their feet. When the fire clears, the transport is gone. Vaporized. 200 German soldiers die in 3 seconds. 0258 hours. The E-boats break off. They have lost one of their number. Their torpedoes are expended. They cannot stop 3 destroyers fighting like demons. The 4 remaining transports scatter into the darkness. Theodoridis does not let them escape. Signal the squadron. Pursue and destroy. Leave nothing floating. The Greek destroyers hunt through the night. By 0430 hours, it is over. 4 German transports sunk. 1 damaged and fleeing. 1 E-boat destroyed. 1 Italian torpedo boat crippled. Greek losses 12 wounded. 0 ships lost. The convoy was carrying 1,800 German soldiers and 4,000 tons of supplies to reinforce Crete. None of it arrives. 0530 hours. Luftwaffe bombers from Maleme finally arrive. They find empty sea and burning wreckage. The Greek destroyers are already gone. News of the Kythera Strait action spreads through the Allied fleet within hours. 3 obsolete Greek destroyers. 6 German transports, 4 sunk, 1 damaged, an entire reinforcement convoy destroyed. In Alexandria, Rear Admiral Burrow reads the report 3 times. He writes a single note in the margin, remarkable. In Athens, Capitan Xerxes Langa receives his own report. He does not write anything. He stares at the wall for a long time. Then he picks up the telephone and calls Berlin. We have underestimated them. We need more forces. Berlin's response is not what he expects. There are no more forces to send. The Eastern Front requires everything. You must manage with what you have. Lang hangs up the telephone. For the first time, he understands something that German High Command refuses to accept. They are not winning in the Aegean. They are surviving. And even that is becoming difficult. The impact of the Greek destroyer operations ripples outward through the final months of 1943. German convoy schedules are rewritten. Ships that once sailed at night now wait for daylight and air cover. Trips that took 18 hours now take 3 days. Supply shortages appear on German-held islands throughout the Aegean. Garrisons report ammunition rationing. Medical supplies run low. Fuel becomes precious. On Crete, German commanders cancel 3 planned operations because reinforcements never arrive. In Athens, resistance fighters hear stories about Greek destroyers still flying the blue and white flag, still hunting German ships, still refusing to surrender. The stories become legends. The legends become hope. A resistance leader in Thessaloniki sends a message to Allied intelligence. Tell the Navy they are not alone. Every time they sink a German ship, we sing in the mountains. The British begin to take notice. In December 1943, the Royal Navy officially commends the Hellenic Navy Destroyer Squadron for exceptional valor in combat operations. The commendation notes that Greek destroyers have sunk or damaged more Axis vessels per ship than any other Allied force in the Mediterranean theater. Commander Alexandros receives the notice at his headquarters in Alexandria. His aide asks if he wants to celebrate. Alexandros shakes his head. We will celebrate when Greece is free. Until then, we hunt. The German response grows more desperate. By January 1944, standing orders require minimum 4-1 superiority for any engagement with Greek forces. E-boat captains who fail to achieve this ratio before engaging face courts-martial. Luftwaffe squadrons are pulled from North Africa to provide convoy cover in the Aegean. Intelligence services offer bounties for information on Greek destroyer patrol routes. None of it works. The Greeks adapt, they change patterns. They strike where the Germans do not expect. They disappear into the island chains that their crews have known since childhood. An E-boat captain writes in his diary, "They know these waters like we know nothing. We chase shadows. They sink our ships." He is killed 3 weeks later when a Greek destroyer finds his boat in the Cyclades. Between August 1943 and May 1944, 6 Greek destroyers conduct 89 offensive operations. They sink 23 Axis vessels. They damage 31 more. They rescue 127 Allied soldiers from besieged islands. They lose 2 ships. Vasilissa Olga at Leros, Adrias at Leros. The remaining 4 fight until the Germans surrender. But numbers do not tell the full story. What the numbers cannot measure is the fear that Greek destroyers created in German convoy commanders. What the statistics cannot capture is the hope they gave to occupied Greece. What the reports cannot describe is the simple, stubborn refusal to accept that the war was lost. 6 obsolete ships, 660 men, fighting an empire with outdated guns and absolute determination. They should have been worthless. They became legends. But what happened to the men who crewed these ships? What became of Commander Tumbas after the war? What happened to Lieutenant Lapis and young Dmitri and all the others who fought aboard Adrias? And what is the legacy of 6 worthless ships that refused to be worthless? That story belongs to Part 4. The final chapter. The one few people know. Part 1. Commander Ioannis Tumbas charged 4 German E-boats with a 31-year-old destroyer. Everyone called him insane. He crippled 1 boat and scattered the rest. Part 2. An Italian torpedo tore away 50 feet of his bow. Tumbas refused to abandon ship. He sailed 40 miles with no bow and turned Adrias into a floating gun battery at Leros. Part 3. 6. Greek destroyers fought 89 offensive operations in the Aegean. They sank 23 Axis vessels. They rescued over 4,000 Allied soldiers. They forced Germany to divert thousands of troops and dozens of aircraft from other theaters. But what happened to the men who crewed these ships? What became of Commander Tumbas after the war ended? And what is the true legacy of 6 worthless destroyers that refused to be worthless? This story has one final chapter, the one few people know, the one that proves courage does not end when the guns fall silent. November 16, 1943. Leros Harbor. Adrias sinks stern first. Her Greek flag still flies. Her guns still point at the enemy. Commander Tumbas is the last man off the bridge. He watches his ship go down. 3 years of his life. 21 dead crewmen. 1,000 memories sinking beneath dark water. Lapis stands beside him in the small boat. "Sir, we need to go. The Germans are coming." Tumbas does not move. His eyes stay fixed on the spot where Adrias disappeared. She deserved better. She fought to the end, Captain. We all did. 6 hours later, German forces capture the surviving crew. Tumbas and Lapis are separated. The enlisted men are sent to different camps. Families who have not heard from their sons in months will wait years more. Tumbas spends the rest of the war in Auflage 7A, a German prisoner camp in Bavaria. He shares a barracks with British, American, and French officers. None of them have heard of him. None of them know what happened in the Aegean. He does not talk about it. A British major asks him once about his service. Tumbas shrugs. "I commanded a destroyer. She sank." That is all he says. At night, he dreams of torpedoes. He dreams of the sound Adrias made when she hit the water for the last time. He dreams of the faces of 21 dead men. He keeps a small notebook. He writes their names, every single one. Lieutenant Lapis ends up in Stalag 7A, a camp for enlisted men and junior officers. The Germans do not realize he was executive officer on a destroyer that killed their sailors. If they knew, he would be treated very differently. He survives on thin soup and black bread. He loses 30 pounds. His engineering mind keeps working even when his body fails. He designs things in his head. Better engines, faster ships, ways to make old steel fight like new. When liberation comes in April 1945, he weighs 127 pounds. His first request is not for food or medical care. He asks for a pencil and paper. He starts drawing ship designs. Young Dimitri Konstantinos, the sailor who almost drowned 3 times in 3 days, is separated from the others at Leros. He is sent to a labor camp in Poland. He works in a coal mine for 18 months. The work is brutal. Men die every week from accidents, disease, exhaustion. Dimitri survives by thinking about the sea. When the darkness of the mine becomes unbearable, he closes his eyes and imagines the Aegean. Blue water, white islands, the feeling of salt spray on his face. He tells the other prisoners about Adrias, about the captain who charged E-boats, about the ship that refused to sink, about the flag that kept flying. The stories spread through the camp. Greek sailors who fought like demons. A destroyer with no bow that kept shooting. Even in a coal mine in Poland, the legend grows. Petty Officer Stavros Nikolaitis does not survive. The old engineer who kept Adrias running with spare parts and stubbornness dies in a German prison camp in March 1944. Pneumonia. His lungs, already damaged from decades of engine smoke, cannot fight the infection. His last words, according to the men who were with him, "She was a good ship. Tell them that." He is buried in a mass grave with 17 other prisoners. After the war, Greek authorities try to locate his remains. They never find them. His family in Piraeus learns of his death 6 months after the war ends. His widow places a photograph of Adrias on her wall. It stays there until she dies in 1967. April 1945. Liberation. Tumbas walks out of Auflage 7A weighing 143 pounds. He is 44 years old. He looks 60. A British officer offers him transport to England, then to Alexandria. Tumbas shakes his head. I am going home. Home is Piraeus. Home is his mother, who is 71 years old and has not known if her son was alive for 2 years. He arrives in Greece in June 1945. The country is devastated. Civil war is brewing. Athens is scarred by occupation and resistance. But his mother is alive. She opens the door of her small house and sees her son standing there. Thin, gray, old before his time. She does not speak. She cannot. She holds him for 10 minutes without letting go. Later, she asks about the war. Tumbas tells her about Adrias, about the convoy, about the torpedo, about Leros, about the prison camp. He does not tell her about the 21 dead men. He does not tell her about the nightmares. He does not tell her about the notebook with their names. Some things a mother does not need to know. Tumbas returns to active service in the Hellenic Navy in 1946. Greece needs experienced officers. There are not many left. He commands a destroyer again, then a cruiser, then a shore installation. He never speaks publicly about Adrias. Journalists ask him for interviews. He declines. A historian wants to write about the Aegean operations. Tumbas provides facts and dates, but nothing personal. A reporter asks him directly, "What was it like to fight with no bow?" Tumbas looks at him for a long moment. "We did what any Greek sailor would do. We fought for our home." He walks away. He retires from the Navy in 1955 at the rank of Rear Admiral. The promotion comes quietly without ceremony. He does not want ceremony. He moves back to Piraeus. He buys a small house near the harbor where he grew up. He can see the water from his window. He dies in 1978 at the age of 77. His obituary in the Athens newspapers is 3 paragraphs long. It mentions his service record, but says nothing about Adrias. His notebook with the names of 21 dead men is found in his desk drawer after his death. His family donates it to the Hellenic Navy Museum. Lieutenant Lapis survives the war. He returns to Greece in 1945, weighing 130 pounds and carrying a folder of ship designs he created in the prison camp. No one in the Navy wants to see them. Greece is broken. There is no money for new ships. There is barely money for food. Lapis leaves the Navy in 1947. He becomes a merchant captain instead. He names his first cargo ship Adrias. The shipping company objects. They want a more modern name, something that sounds prosperous and forward-looking. Lapis refuses to change it. He keeps a photograph of Adrias's crew in his cabin. Every ship he commands afterward carries a copy of that photograph. He dies in 1989 at the age of 74. His children scatter his ashes in the Kaso Strait, where Adrias fought her first battle. Young Dimitri Konstantinos survives the coal mine. He returns to Greece in 1945, 22 years old, and missing 3 fingers from a mining accident. He cannot return to the Navy. His hands are too damaged. He becomes a schoolteacher instead. Mathematics and history. He teaches in Thessaloniki for 38 years. Every October 22nd, the anniversary of Adrias's first battle, he tells his students about the ship with no bow. One year, a student asks him, "Were you afraid?" Dimitri thinks for a long moment. "Every minute. But we were more afraid of giving up than dying." Does that make sense? The student nods. Dimitri retires in 1983. He writes a memoir about his service, but cannot find a publisher. Greek publishers want stories about the resistance, not about naval battles that most people have forgotten. He self-publishes the book in 1991. He prints 200 copies. He gives them to libraries, schools, and naval academies. He dies in 1996, 3 weeks after receiving a letter from a young naval cadet who read his book. The letter says, "You made me want to serve on destroyers." Dimitri's family finds the letter in his hand. But the legacy of Adrias and her sisters extends far beyond the men who sailed them. The tactics developed by Greek destroyer commanders in the Aegean influenced naval doctrine for decades. After the war, British naval analysts studied the Greek operations in detail. They were trying to understand how 6 obsolete ships had caused so much damage to a superior enemy. Their conclusions changed how navies thought about asymmetric warfare. The Greeks proved that aggressive tactics could compensate for technological inferiority. They proved that morale and determination could offset material disadvantages. They proved that speed of decision mattered more than speed of ships. A British naval study from 1947 concluded, the Hellenic Navy destroyer operations in the Aegean represent a masterclass in economy of force. With minimal assets, Greek commanders achieved results disproportionate to their capabilities. Their willingness to accept risk enabled tactical victories that should have been impossible. The United States Navy incorporated these lessons into its own doctrine. During the Korean War, American destroyer commanders used similar tactics against North Korean coastal forces. They cited Greek operations in the Aegean as a model. During the Vietnam War, American swift boat crews studied the Greek approach to aggressive patrol warfare. The idea of attacking before the enemy expected it of using speed and surprise to compensate for firepower became standard doctrine. The Israeli Navy built its entire coastal warfare strategy on principles the Greeks demonstrated in 1943. Small aggressive vessels attacking larger enemies. Morale and training compensating for material shortcomings. In modern naval academies around the world, Adrius appears in textbooks. The chapter is usually titled something like Asymmetric Naval Warfare or Tactical Aggression in Inferior Forces. The photograph shows a destroyer with no bow still flying her flag. The caption reads, Hellenic Navy ship Adrius after torpedo damage November 1943. Continued combat operations for 2 weeks in this condition. Students read about her and shake their heads. How is that possible? Their instructors tell them, because her crew refused to accept it was impossible. The Greek destroyer operations saved an estimated 427 Allied soldiers during evacuation operations from the Dodecanese Islands. They sank or damaged 54 Axis vessels. They forced Germany to divert over 2,400 personnel, 47 aircraft, and 12 E-boats from other theaters. A military historian calculated in 1987 that the German resources diverted to counter Greek destroyers could have supported 2 additional U-boat patrols in the Atlantic or 1 additional fighter squadron on the Eastern Front. 6 obsolete ships, 66 men, fighting with 30-year-old technology. They changed the arithmetic of the war. But the deepest lesson is not about tactics or technology. It is about what happens when people refuse to accept the judgment that they are worthless. The British said Greek destroyers were too old to fight. The Germans said they were floating scrap metal. Even Greek naval command suggested their crews would be better used elsewhere. Everyone agreed these ships had no value. Everyone was wrong. Because value is not determined by specifications or commissioning dates. Value is determined by the people who refuse to give up. Tumbas could have accepted a comfortable posting on a British ship. He chose to fight on a vessel the experts called a coffin. Lapis could have calculated the odds and requested transfer. He chose to keep an ancient engine running through sheer stubbornness. Stavros could have retired years before the war. He chose to die in a prison camp rather than abandon his ship. Dmitri could have frozen when the torpedoes came. He chose to keep bailing water with broken hands. They were not special men. They were ordinary sailors from ordinary families. Fishermen's sons. Mechanics. Teachers. Men who had never expected to be heroes. They became heroes because they refused to accept that their ship was worthless. And in refusing to accept that judgment, they proved it wrong. There is one final detail that most histories do not mention. In 2004, Greek Navy divers conducted a survey of Leros Harbor. They were mapping underwater wrecks for a heritage project. They found what remained of Adrius. 60 years of saltwater had taken their toll. The hull was collapsed. The superstructure was gone. But the divers found something that made them stop. The ship's bell. It was lying in the sediment, half buried and crusted with marine growth. The inscription was still legible. Adrias, 1912. The divers brought it to the surface. Today that bell hangs in the Hellenic Navy Museum in Athens. It is displayed next to Tumbas's notebook with the names of 21 dead men. Visitors can see both artifacts side by side. The bell that called sailors to duty. The names of those who answered that call and never came home. A museum guide explains the significance to visitors. This ship was called worthless. She was supposed to be scrapped. Instead, she fought for 3 years, protected Allied convoys, and helped change the course of the war in the Mediterranean. Her bell survived 60 years underwater. Her story survives still. Every year, on November 16th, the anniversary of Adrias's scuttling Greek naval cadets gather at the museum. They stand at attention before the bell. They read the 21 names aloud. Then they recite the words inscribed on the memorial plaque at Leros. Here lies Hellenic Navy ship Adrias. She refused to surrender. From a fisherman's son in Piraeus, with a 31-year-old ship everyone called worthless to a legend that changed naval warfare forever. Commander Ioannis Tumbas proved that courage is not about the steel you command. It is about the will you bring to the fight. 6 Greek destroyers. 89 operations. 54 enemy vessels sunk or damaged. 127 soldiers rescued. An empire forced to divert resources it could not spare. That is the power of refusing to accept someone else's judgment of your worth. If you know a story like this one, a story of ordinary people who did extraordinary things because they refused to quit, share it in the comments. These stories deserve to be told. This is just one of hundreds of forgotten moments from World War II where courage changed everything. Subscribe to discover more. And remember what Adrias taught the world. Worthless is not a fact, it is an opinion, and opinions can be proven wrong.